welcome to the channel. What we are looking at here is a new release. Today is March the 12th of 2024. We're back in Flight Simulator with new release. Yes, Aerosachs Tecnam P2010. This is actually an all carbon fiber fuselage with metal structured wings, and what I want to do today is get a review out on this aircraft. Is, like I said, it just came out. I know nothing really too much about the Tecnam product in terms of real life. I have the twin engine planes that they offer as well, the Tecnam versions in this game. I have not reviewed them, but they are relatively high quality, definitely. Their structures, their paint, their finishes, everything interiorly, exteriorly, all of it. They're fun to fly, and they're very well done aircraft in general. So I figured I would pick this up. It was in euros, 16.35. That's 16 euros and 35 cents, which roughly for a fellow like me equates to US denomination of about $17.85. So we're not really breaking the bank too much. It's all relative, but I think relatively speaking, yes, that's a fairly good price. Now, there's three versions of this aircraft, as I've done a little bit of research on it in the real world here. There is a 170 horsepower turbo diesel version. There's a 180 horsepower version, which is what we have, that being the injected opposed 360 cubic inch M1A engine. So that's obviously avgas powered, 100 low lead, 91 to 96 octane, what you can get your hands on. And there's also a 215 horsepower version with the IO 390, so a little bit more cubic inch displacement, piston powered, obviously both of them, propeller driven, both obviously avgas. So we're right in the middle of the roads in terms of the expense on the model we have here. I'm kind of just panning around, getting a little bit of these angles for you so that you can see some of the detail and the textures. It's very hard to say, with any logical reasoning, the carbon fiber would have too much on the fuselage in terms of its detail, because smooth surface as it is, you're not going to see rivets anyways in carbon fiber, so we would expect that to be pretty pristine, plush, and smooth, as this is also obviously a new aircraft. So in the real world, it wouldn't really see too much wear and tear, as it were, hopefully. But, I mean, I'm looking here on these wings, and you can see on the ailerons and the flaps the little bit of waviness in them. I think that's kind of neat. It does add to the patina and the textures. You can see the rivets there. You can see the countersunk holes on the surface and the structure. That's really neat. It's nice to see details like that. So I would say where the details matter, they count. And metal structure on a wing would be one of those where you would want to see that kind of detail. We're looking at the wingtip lights here, and they almost look like they're a polished metal. Those are cool. I like how they're not very opaque or translucent. They almost give you like a older style feel. They definitely don't look LED with those red and white covers on the bulbs. But glass effects look really nice. Shine off of the clouds reflecting. Propellers. It all looks good. Coincidentally, it does come with the pitot cover here, and even though we are in the grass, as a matter of fact, it was just raining, so literally I waited to pull this out of the hangar because you can see there's a ground power unit on the starboard side over there. It was raining, so I did not want to get that wet just for role-playing sake. Tie downs, of course, covers, all of those, wheel chocks, they come off. That being said, though, let's go ahead and hop on inside and check out the interior. As I said, I know nothing about this aircraft in terms of its flight model characteristics or performance or anything like that. We've spoken about the price. We've spoken about the theoretical horsepower. Let's hop inside. I'll give you a couple more performance specs while we're at it. Okay, so welcome to the pilot in command position. Just to go over a couple specs on our 180 horsepower variant. Now, in the real world, there is the TDI at 170 and the IO 390, as I said, at 215. What does that mean in terms of our middle-of-the-road performance here? So essentially, we're cruising at 12,000 foot for our ceiling. That's our max. We're not pressurized. We're supposed to be able to do anywhere between 120, as stated on the in-game livery section there, where you pick the color of your aircraft, so on and so forth. It says 120, but I've also seen 137, so anywhere between 120 and 137 for our variant. An extremely efficient airfoil wing. It supposedly stalls at an indicated 52 knots. That's really low and nice, but also we're not carrying a lot of weight with this carbon fiber fuselage. We're going to supposedly get a 841 foot a minute climb rate with the 530 nautical mile range. What does that mean in terms of the 215 horse that we can't get anyway? Well, that one only cruises at a max altitude of 14,000 with a cruise of 140 and 1105 foot per minute cruise, or excuse me, climb rate. So we're not really talking too much of a difference in terms of Microsoft Flight Simulator content, but again, in speaking about that, we're looking around. We see, obviously, we have the G1000. It's the glass cabin, you know, in here, which is nice. Let's go ahead and see if we can, like, open these doors. I try clicking on this thing, you know, closes it, opens it, so on and so forth. That's cool. Also getting another look at the materials in here. Very nice. You can see the wings. Very nice. Polish, fit, and finish. All good. Let's go ahead and show you the manual here. And I'd also like to show you, when you do press these cool little buttons, it gives you all of those nifty little features that you saw on the outside and some that you haven't seen on the inside yet, which not all aircraft have. So if I go ahead and throw the payload to 100, you can actually see it does render your choice of co-pilot, which for me is experimental test pilot, because we need a pro for 180 horsepower. And we have the passengers. So theoretically it simulates the baggages as well. We'll go back outside. You can see pants for the wheels, all the tie downs, everything. So you can get rid of all of that. But I just wanted to show you that's a nice feature for your dollar. And I'm going to go ahead and put that away, and let's bring this back to a normal, realistic weight. I'm just going to fly with myself today at a measly 200 pounds. So, that, and let's just see, do these things also work? Yes, the co-pilot side works. What else is clickable in here? Clicking things, I have no idea what they're doing. There's probably something in the back. And all of the buttons do move. So, I like that. I like how you can press the buttons and things actually work. So, presumably all the same over here as well. Oh no, there is actually no door there. That's a nice feature. So, literally just pilot in command, co-pilot, and right rear passenger for the door systems. Neat. What about these? Are these clickable? Looking for click spots. Nice. We've got a glasses holder. We've got map lights. All tunable. Fantastic. Presumably tunable. Yep, ons and offs. All right, so there is a lot of functionality in here. Do we have the visor that works? I wonder. Let me zoom out. Let me wonder. Now, later, never, upcoming patch. Who knows? There you go. Just got to know how to use the aircraft. That's cool. Never seen a visor like that that literally looks like a snow shovel. All right, make sure your face is out of the way when you're raising that, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. Nice clickables. So I'm going to prepare myself for heading out to the active. And let's start this up. I know nothing about the flight model. I just know the theoretical specs and nothing about the sound package here. Let's get into it. Be right back. All right. Just after the cup of coffee, we are ready to go again. So we're back here at Sierra 45. That is Siletz Bay, Pacific Northwest, and we're running with real-time, real-world weather here. So we're going to try that out. I know it's kind of glooming out, but that's all right. No big deal. We're just here for the sights, sounds, and the package in general. It's always the standard, right? So we want to make sure we have our complete mixture to rich, and we want to make sure that our propeller is full forward so that we get as much airflow over that cowling in the engine as possible. Let's go ahead and see if we can't now figure out where the masters are. I'll leave the generator off for now. And we've got the trim, autopilot, pitot heat, strobe, navs, taxis, instrument a little bit up, panel a little bit up. Let's go and see what those lights look like. Cool. I like the wings. I do like the red and the green. That's really neat. Look at that. Oh, that's a cool unexpected feature. I don't know if that's a feature or not, but did you look at how the light actually changes as opposed to it like going through those little serrated openings? That's neat. I like that. Probably unintended effect, but kudos to Microsoft Flight Simulator for doing that. And what we are going to do is turn the fuel pump on, and we'll leave it at that as the prime. Okay, let's try to get this thing running, shall we? Alright, magnetos to both, and then start. Okay. Nice and relaxing, 180 horsepower. I like it. It's quiet, but it's strong. It has presence, that's for sure. We'll let our avionics spin up. I'm going to go ahead and just leave that removed for the time being, maybe even the whole flight, right? Fantastic. What I would like to do is let's just pre-program everything, right? Let's get the range in. I do not want to fly with my map 300 miles out. So, okay, nav lights, strobe lights, pitot heat. We'll throw on our trims, and we'll leave the autopilot disconnected. Landing lights due to the day. We are in the daytime. Let's go ahead and mess with our flaps here and go to the takeoff position. Let's turn our fuel pump off till we get to the active. Check these lights out. Very nice. And as we do not want to be miscomplacent, let's go ahead and turn on our alternator. Thanks for that glass display warning. Helping a fella like me get his head out of the, dare I say, clouds. We'll go over to the GPS, although we won't be using the GPS if you're familiar with the Garmin, which if you fly MSFS, you are probably very familiar with this avionics suite. So those work. Both left and right. That's very nice. And what about the back? Floodlights indeed. Oh, wow. Back illumination as well. Possibly with a further throw on the lighting. That way you get a softer light effect. I like it. Let's go ahead and do a mag check right here in front of these people who are standing on the forklift in the rain. Very well. Quite lovely throttle response, to be honest with you. I really like the way that feels. Let's go ahead and do that mag check as we do, huh? Stabilize our RPM here. They both seem to work to me. So you know the drill from here on out. I'm going to go ahead and hit the active, test out the taxiing, let you know halfway down the strip what it feels like, and then we'll get right to the active and get on out of Dodge, as it were. Be right back. Okay, as we are halfway down as promised through the taxiing, I am noticing the taxiing is very reasonable. There's no abrupt power changes with the application of the throttle. And another thing I noticed too is that circuit breakers here are clickable and they do pop. That is really nice to see, especially on an aircraft at this price point. All the buttons seem to work in here. There is no kayfabe going on at all. This is all what you see is what you get. I really like that. And apparently I guess we're driving right through a twister. I don't know what that is, but alright. Just like to keep it as realistic as possible. This is what supposedly it's doing at Siletz Bay right now. And we're going to leave it at that. Weather-wise, adds to the ambiance anyways, right? The rain off of the windscreen gives us the effect. I also love the view out of the front window here. I like being able to see the cowl. I think that's really neat. It gives you the presence of depth for sure. So let's power this bird up and see what we've got here. Very nice throttle response. For sure, we are at the top of the arc, 30 inches manifold pressure, and we are heading for the great blue. It's not so blue. Not too bad. Little bit of left rudder here. Let's go ahead and gently pull off. So that was a little bit of left rudder as well as right aileron. That's the deflection, more than likely due to the weather and the crosswind effect, assuming we have one. I did not check the weather other than using my own two eyes to see the nonsense that we're taking off into. So we're cruising out of Dodge here with our takeoff flap set, 75 knots. Quite bumpy. The wind effect from the trees, of course. And we're going to go ahead and pull that power back a little bit to get our engine at a more reasonable longevity effect, so we don't throw any pistons out of the side of the block. Whether that's simulated or not, I think it's appropriate to play with as much realism and accuracy as we possibly can. Let's go ahead and trim this aircraft out while we climb. So as stated, I would assume 841 foot per minute climb rate is at sea level. It did not say what the speed would theoretically be at that climb rate, but we're at 1,000 now, maintaining about 90 knots, give or take. We can go ahead and pull our propeller back a little bit to also a more reasonable rate. Say maybe about 2,300 RPMs or so. And we're still pulling about 1,000 feet a minute without losing too much airspeed. So sounds are great. Performance is smooth. The view is nice. It flies well, I must say. Taxi lights off, landing lights still on, below 1,000 feet. Of course, we probably could have done with using the fuel boost pump in the event of any emergencies. But we've got altitude, we've got airspeed, everything is A-OK. We are floating along, just doing this review. .800 feet a minute, 96, 97 knots. I would say that's just about on par. It's just about on par. Not having to do too much trimming. Of course, I wouldn't expect to when an overwing aircraft with a, what I would say would be extremely, like I said, efficient airfoil. Stall at 52 knots is quite insane if that's what it is. I'd like to get it maybe 3,000 feet. And we'll try that 52 knot claim of a stall speed. Now, for the record, I am at full throttle. And we are at almost 3,000 feet. And for sure, I'm noticing that it's a 180 horsepower plane and not a space shuttle. So, with a service ceiling of 12,000 feet. And look at that. Smoke effect. I love that. That's actually intended by the designers. As I show you, you can turn that off. As stated. Not sure if you would really be doing aerobatical shows with smoke in this aircraft, but it's there. Another feature for your price point. So yeah, we're above 3,000 feet, heading towards 4. And as I was saying, the manifold pressure, even at full throttle here, is nudging off quite quickly. We started at 30 inches of manifold pressure. Now we are at 26. So this is not turbo normalized. There are no turbochargers, no superchargers, so your performance will vary with this depending on the altitude that you fly out of for your airport. Just something to keep in mind. Not a fault of the airplane, just a design parameter of a naturally aspirated 360 cubic inch engine. Let's level off and pull the power back to idle and see if we can stall at 52 knots. Characteristics of that would be, we shall see. I'll keep holding the nose. This is going to be a clean stall, no flaps, so I don't know if the 52 knots is clean or if it's got the flaps deployed. We're going to find out. Yeah, I'm bleeding off airspeed quite nicely. Stable so far at 70. Pulling back to maintain 4,500 feet. 60. And there we go. Nose over and a stall. So that wasn't 52, but it was close. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the power back up to climb a little bit. Let's go ahead and throw in a notch of flaps now that we are in the white arch. And I'll approach it this time with full flaps. Down. And let's see if we can't pull the power back and get that 52. And there's that right wing drop. With full flaps, pulling those up. And just as noted, it is indeed as claimed. Alright, so with that done, let's just check out some exterior shots real quick, huh? Excellent. Looks great. Sounds great, in my opinion. Although there is one thing I would like to note about this aircraft. If you get this from the sim marketplace like I did, there is no installation package. So if you purchase it and you downloaded it, it will be wherever your download goes to that you have it directed to. You'll have to extract that into a file and then put that installation folder with all of the aircraft's associated files essentially into your community folder. So whether you have the Xbox or Microsoft Store version for your install path or the Steam version for your path, you will definitely have to drag and drop that into your community folder, as I did, because there is no executable for you to literally just double click and install. So just something worth noting. Not that big of a deal. Once I did that, it was done. Easy. Easy peasy. Right as, dare I say, during a rainstorm. Right as rain. Okay, so we're headed back to Siletz Bay. Once I line up on the final for you all, I'll bring you right back. Save you the boredom of my boring flight through the clouds. Not so much the aircraft, but it is moi who fails to hold the attention of its audience. I shall return. Okay, here we are on short final. Let's not make the same mistake twice. Throw on our auxiliary fuel boost pump, trying to bleed off airspeed here. While you were gone, I will say I noticed that I had to do some side slipping with the rudder. This aircraft is extremely slick, in the airstream, so you have to come in at a fairly shallow angle of descent because the speed just sticks with this aircraft very well. And she wants to float, but that's okay. center line, and we'll use the full runway. So what to say about landing effects? Pretty good, pretty good. Not the best, not the worst. All metal wing structure with a composite fuselage leads to, I suspect, a very lofty, fast, slick airplane, and you can feel that in the landing here. Thank God this is a stable platform underneath of us with the legs, so to speak. They are wide enough to provide at least enough stability so that we do not edge our wings over onto the tarmac. But that being said, I will say that's probably one of the more touchy landings I have ever had in this sim. Probably due to maybe crosswind, maybe weather, but just keep in mind this is a very touchy aircraft. I feel like for its size, the aileron deflection and the degrees of deflection that this aircraft has certainly feel like it's a twitchy aircraft. That is not a bad thing. I like it. Would I fly this over, say, a default Cessna? Absolutely. With the 530 nautical mile range, I feel like you could get some really nice trips in here. 100-hour hamburgers, perhaps. And we will go back to our usual location to finish off the video. But what do I think? I think the sounds are awesome. I think the clickability in the cabin here is awesome. I think the lighting's really neat. Wasn't sure what to make of it. I've had the, like I said, multi-engine Tecnams, and I have not reviewed them, but I've had them for a while, and I've liked them. I don't fly them very often, because I feel like there's a lot of other twin-engine aircrafts in this game that essentially simulate their themselves respectively very well, that being the Cessna 310 and other aircraft variants. So to come into a Tecnam single engine is a lovely experience. I like this. I like it even more than the Cessna RG from Carenado. I hate to say that. That's not a knock on Carenado's product. That's just saying this one has clickable circuit breakers. You know what I'm saying? Nice lighting. Everything's usable. Everything's friendly. It's awesome. So let's go ahead and turn it off. Good startup sounds. Good start down, rundown sounds, however you would say that in English. And pretty much a done deal. So this aircraft is 100% worth the effort, and I would say if you want to buy it, I would recommend it for $17.85, essentially $18 off sale. Having just come out, it's worth it. So hopefully you enjoyed that review, and I will catch you in the next one. See you later. Bye-bye.